Hi, my name is Anthony Gibbs, and today I speak with you from the library over here at North Michigan University. Uh, so, I guess the purpose for this video is a twofold. In earlier videos, I have discussed the nature of manifest destiny. I've also touched on the Knights of the Golden Circle, as well as other other type of historical concerns. And just recently, for those of you who may not know, it's recently been decided that Harriet Tubman is going to be on the $20 bill, and Andrew Jackson will be moved to the back of the bill, and they will share the same bill. Okay, we can obviously, kind of cherry pick the delight felt by many in the black community and others at the notion of this former slaveholder and a person who did not have very high opinions of people of color and of Native Americans that he dealt with. It's also true that many Native Americans won't even use a $20 bill. Just won't use it. They'll get tens and fives, but never use a 20. So we can like delight in the the karmic justice of it all, I suppose. 140 years after this man died, or 160 years after this man died, we can revel in this. But there's two things here that kind of bother me, or a few things here. Number one, we view Andrew Jackson in today's terms. And though there is a great amount of, like I said before, like delight in getting his historical comeuppance, it's unfair to him. And I'll say that as a black person who's inclined to not like him at all. It is unfair to Andrew Jackson and his memory. It is unfair to our country's history. And moreover, if we're going to throw stones at Jackson, then them stones come back towards us, all of us, including me, because we benefit from Andrew Jackson and his actions to this day. It's easy to toss dirt on the conqueror. It's easy to call, even to toss dispersions upon the conqueror once we sit in what the conqueror has conquered for us. Once we have benefited from the monies and from natural resources gained from Florida over the years, all the ports that are in Florida that we use to this day. There are several major cities in Florida right now with bases for large companies. Nobody gets prepared to return Florida to the Spanish. No one is suggesting that the Seminole tribe should get control over over Florida. No one is suggesting that we should be paying reparations to every single tribe, every single black person that was dragged there to be used to terraform these territories and make them into tenable land for their plantations and other business ventures that they had in mind, where they use people to do those things. It's very easy to sit there and say, "Oh, Andrew Jackson was a horrible person." Number one, I didn't know Andrew Jackson, and they didn't either. Number two, gentlemen back then didn't keep easy friendships. He wasn't the kind of person that made easy friendships, and he struggled with people his entire life. So even people back then thought he was difficult. Number four, do you like New Orleans? Well, if you do, you better thank him. Number five, Jackson, during the same said battle of New Orleans, was ready to buck racist trends when he told the white soldiers to sit next to the black slaves that they had more or less commissioned, and told them, you will dig together and you will fight together. So apparently, Andrew Jackson was more of a practical man than we give him credit for. I'm not even going to entertain myself about him being, against the central banks. This is some kind of rebuke against him when his face is done to 20 indefinitely. So they could have been took him off the 20 and put some, I don't know, put Walt Whitman on there or something. They want to prove that point. Or put that guy, Nicholas Bidwell, who was one, championing the bank. Why don't we put him on the 20? Right? If he's all about that. No, it's not about that at all. So, so with Andrew Jackson's unfair assessment nowadays, and I think it's I wouldn't quite call it a mistake or even call it misguided. I just think it's arrogant. I think it's arrogant to place judgment on somebody who lived during a time that was completely different than you. I think it's arrogant to not understand the history and the cultural significance of the person. I think it's arrogant to be sitting up in the fruits of that person's labor and fucking criticize them. It's nonsense. If you want to have a college class talk about how bad F. Jackson was, fine. If you want to write a scathing book about Andrew Jackson's behavior and you researched it and you got a bibliography this thick, sure. If you want to make his channel program or a documentary about Andrew Jackson being an asshole, fine. Hell, I'll probably tune in and watch that. I'd probably agree. But the presidency then, as not now, is not a popularity contest. The presidency then, as it is now, involves making hard decisions that a lot of folks will not like and may not appear to understand until you're gone. You don't go, oh, okay, that was a good idea after all. It's the same thing with James K. Polk. Do I like James K. Polk? No. Matter of fact, I have a cousin named Paul Polk who died some time ago. Get it? So Polk might have very well owned part of my family. I can sit there and say, well, he's an asshole too. He's a conqueror. The Mexico thing was a disgrace. Sure, it was all those things. But nobody is prepared to give back California. No one is prepared to give back Phoenix. No one is prepared to give back New Mexico and Santa Fe. No one's prepared to give back Utah or Colorado. People like going to Denver. People like going to Phoenix. And hell, people love California. But all that was part of Mexico that was taken in a conquest. So to sit there and denigrate Polk as denigrate Jackson because they were terrible people who kept slaves and he beat up people and killed people. But then at the same time, enjoy the fruits of their labor, meaning this nice big country. There's a level of hypocrisy in that. It's just that simple. And putting Tubman on a $20 bill does not make it right. It does not. It does not rectify it. If anything, it's a whitewashing of it. It's like $20 bill was Tubman on it. Will it makes it all better. It does not make it all better. Slavery still occurred. Slave masters still got rich. And putting her on a $20 bill does not change any of that. Andrew Jackson still conquered a big chunk of the country. Does not change that. So anyway, I guess to conclude, Miss Tubman being on $20 bill, hey, it's awesome. Being at the expense of Andrew Jackson, it's kind of funny. But my fear is that the point is lost in all of this. And also what's lost is a sense of our historical responsibilities and our current responsibilities. I mean, there is no thought to what we currently enjoy and how those things were not possible unless men like Andrew Jackson and James K. Polk did what they did. There would be no America to argue about for equality or not unless James K. Polk and Andrew Jackson did what they did. The one mitigating factor to keep in mind that the French invaded Mexico like pretty soon after we left and occupied it. What if the French got real aggressive and we didn't do anything in Mexico, and now the French were sitting in Colorado to this day, and we live in a third world banana rate, and we live in a third world country on the North American continent because it broke in little bitty pieces all over the place, as it did in South America. We benefit from these men. We benefit from slavery. Slave labor terraformed a large chunk of this country. And to this day, we benefit from that terraforming. Roads, highways, farms. You can't whitewash history. And I think sometimes people don't study history because they don't want to think about being responsible for what they currently are going through because they know better. So if you don't know shit, everything just kind of happens in real time and you're kind of left wondering. But if you know your history and you see things occurring, you can't feign ignorance anymore. You have to do something about it, or you got to ask yourself, am I really the problem? And you very well might be. However, I myself, I'm not going to denigrate. I'm not going to denigrate Andrew Jackson. Not when I benefit directly from what he did. The same way I wouldn't denigrate George Washington and the rest of them, even though they were slave-holding and racist bastards. I'm benefiting from what they did because I like America. I don't want to be anything else but an American. And if that's the case, then I must thank those men for their service, and also feel glad that we've progressed as a country to where I myself can be seen as peer and equal, and not just have it be about a class of landed white gentry, which is what the country originally was built to serve, not the common mofo. Because after all, who could vote to start this country? White male landowners. That's a very small slice. But somehow along the way, it became that you could just vote for president if you were just a white man. That's how Jackson got elected, by the way. And it became after the Civil War, you could vote if you're a black dude or whatever color you are. Then it became your gal you can vote. Then it became we had to revisit the voting thing to make sure people get to vote and are pushed out the voting booth for dirty tricks. All those things are an evolution and a progression. But none of them could not have happened if there wasn't a nexus point of George Washington followed by Andrew Jackson, for better or for worse. So instead of denigrating Jackson, leave it with this. Figure out what you can do to serve your country. Make your own mark. Bye bye, guys. See you later.